Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes.
So I'll be asking the questions, Maharaj, and then...
Alright, sure.
So we'll start off with, how can fear and shame be overcome? And how can we understand that Krishna has forgiven us?
Once I was driving past a... Oh, okay. I thought it was sound effects. It's all good now? Alright, wonderful. Thank you. Once I was driving past the church and there was a sign and it said, every saint had a past and every sinner has a future. In other words, it doesn't matter how much we may feel as though we've made a mistake. Sometimes things happen in our life and we feel very guilty, we feel some shame. How I could have done that. But if we look at the Srimad Bhagavatam, then practically in every single canto somebody makes a mistake, isn't it? In the first canto, Parikshit made a mistake. In the second canto, Brahmaji made a mistake. In the fourth canto, Dhruva made a mistake. In the fifth canto, Bharat made a mistake. In the sixth canto, Ajamiel made a mistake. Everyone. In one sense, we can say Srimad Bhagavatam is a book of mistakes. So we will make mistakes in our life. There will be times when we do things that we wish we didn't do. But that shame or that guilt shouldn't make us so hopeless that we don't move forward. Because the Bhagavatam teaches us that even if we can make a mistake, then we can recover. And so we overcome shame and fear by understanding that there is one ingredient which can carry us forward, and that is mercy. And so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his mercy can help us to overcome all weakness that we have within us.
Thank you, Maharaj. So the next question is on the topic of karma. We often hear about the principles of the laws of karma. Where does one find these descriptions of such laws, and are they documented in our scriptures?
Yes. So for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks the question about karma. He says, what is karma? And then Krishna goes on to explain the science. Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna doesn't go into detail. But then when one reads other books like Srimad Bhagavatam, then it begins to explain what is the science of karma, what kind of actions bring what kind of reactions. Later on in the Gita, Krishna talks about the modes of nature. And he explains that if you live and act in different modes, then you will get different results. And so, yes, karma is very much explained. There are different types of karma. There's instant karma, there's delayed karma, there's individual karma, there's collective karma, there's token karma. There's karma which is specifically engineered by Krishna's hand. So like this, karma is a very, very complex law. And if we study the lives of the characters of Srimad Bhagavatam, then we can get very deep insights into how karma is working.
On that note, so can I do enough good things in my life to wipe away all the bad from my previous life? And then how will I know how many good things I need to do to make sure that happens?
See, Krishna explains in the Gita that it's not just about good and bad activities. Krishna explains that actually we have to go beyond good and bad. If you do bad activities, then you will come back in the world in a very difficult situation. If you do good activities, yes, I gave so much charity. Very nice. Good activity, pious activity. You will have to come back to the world to experience the good karma. But coming back to the world in and of itself is a problem. Because when you come back to this world, then Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukha Doshanu Darshanam. So therefore, if you do good karma, it's like being in a jail which has golden bars. Yes, I am in a very nice jail, but you're still in the jail. Therefore, Krishna says that you have to go beyond good and bad. Ubhe sukrate dushkrate tasmad yogaya yujya shva yoga karmashu kaushalam. Krishna says that you should not simply engage in sukriti or dushkriti, piety or impiety. Instead, bhakti is what we should do. And so the devotee doesn't get involved in all of this calculation. No, let me just develop my love for Krishna, and then all karma disappears.
So moving on to the topic of salvation, what is it and how can we achieve it?
Salvation is the opportunity to come out of this world. We're not meant to be here in this world. The soul has three qualities: Sat, Chit and Anand. But in this world, we're stuck in a world. Is it an eternal situation? No, everything here is Asat. Are we in a situation in this world where we know everything? No, we're in ignorance about so many things. Yes, Achit. And are we in a world where we can experience unlimited happiness? No, it's not Anand, it's Niranand. It's full of problems. And so salvation means to transfer ourselves to the place where we can live happily ever after. And so salvation or moksha or mukti, it means to gain release from a world that is not a natural place for us to live in. So, but everyone here is trying to make a permanent situation in the material world. I don't know, in Australia, did you have Mr. Bean? Do you know Mr. Bean? Okay, you all know Mr. Bean. Very good. So in one episode of Mr. Bean, he checked into a hotel room. And when he checked into the hotel room, then he started unpacking his suitcase. Then he decided, let me put some pictures of my family on the wall. So then he started putting some pictures of his family on the wall. And then he thought, but the toilet, you have to go out and go into the other room. So he's got a saw chain out, and he built a door in the room so he could have an ensuite bathroom. And then after making all these changes, he put a sign on his hotel room: home, sweet home. And the most amazing thing is, he's only there for one night. So we make so many plans to stay here in this world, so many complicated arrangements, but we're just passing through, isn't it? Like tonight, I'm on my way to India. But then the flight will stop in Singapore. Just there for a few hours. Passing through. We all came from somewhere else. We all end up here in Perth. And then we'll all move on to another destination. But we try to make a permanent situation here. So salvation means to go to our real permanent situation. That's the spiritual world.
You mentioned in the seminar today, you mentioned something is wrong with us if our desires don't change after 20 years. How can I fix that?
Once there was a wedding party and the husband and wife got onto the boat. It was a moonlit evening and they decided, let's row into the horizon. And so they began rowing and rowing all night. And as the sun rose the next morning and it was light, they looked around and they realized we're in exactly the same place. How is it possible? We were rowing all night. And then they look and realize that they didn't lift up the anchor. So if you don't lift up the anchor, then you'll keep rowing and rowing, but you'll just go round and round in circles. So what's happening is that we are holding on to many attachments. We know what we need to give up. We know what we need to let go of. We know what we need to change, but we can't change ourselves. We remain the same, isn't it? Habits, very difficult to give up. Because even if you take the H away, still a bit remains. And if you take A away, then still bit remains. And if you take the B away, still it remains. So, habits are very difficult. We are holding on to many attachments. So because we hold on to these attachments, it becomes very, very difficult to advance. So therefore we have to also let go of things that are not helping us in our life. Is that okay?
Which is a more important service? Doing service yourself, or enabling and offering others a chance to serve Krishna and his devotees?
So is it more important to serve yourself, like roll up your sleeves and do something, or is it more important to empower others? My service is to give everyone service. Actually, we do both. We do both. We must serve. We must be a good example. We must also walk the talk. So everyone should do some service themselves. But yes, we want to encourage, empower, give others an opportunity. So then we also facilitate other people to do service. So I think it's good to do both. Because when we do service ourselves, that becomes very, very satisfying and purifying. And when we facilitate other devotees' services, then we allow them to also feel that satisfaction, and that's a beautiful service in and of itself. So I think both.
I find it very difficult to be disciplined with food and sadhana. Where do I find the strength to be disciplined?
Sadhana I can help, food I can't help. I'm struggling with that one myself, you know. So we struggle with regulation. Well, with sadhana, what we try to do is do it at the same time in the same place. Time carries memory, and location carries energy. And so if you do something at the same time, at the same place, then what you will find is you get a lot of energy from that. And therefore the committed devotees, they set aside a time in their life every day to do their sadhana. And then they find a nice place in which they can do their sadhana. And so that will help with becoming regulated. In terms of food, well, Krishna explains that we can eat food in the mode of goodness, food which is in the mode of goodness, but we can also have eating habits which are in the mode of goodness. What does eating habits in the mode of goodness mean? Again, eat at specific times. If we start snacking throughout the day, then it might not be a good eating habit. So eating habits, number one, means there are 2 or 3 times in a day when you eat, isn't it? Krishna can eat 6 times a day, but not us. Therefore, eat at specific times. Second thing is, always eat a little bit less than you think you can. In other words, always leave a little bit of space. That's very good. Otherwise, because if we eat too much, then we become slow, we become lazy, and it impedes our spiritual practice. So eat at regular times, eat just a little bit less than being full up, and eat the right types of food. So Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita what are foods in the mode of goodness. He says, food which is fresh, food which gives life, food which illumines the body with pure consciousness. Those are the foods we should try to eat.
Maharaj, what is your advice to devotees for us to turn from ritualistic to spiritualistic?
When you add the spirit to the ritual, then it becomes spiritual. So, when we're doing a ritual, we should understand why we're doing it, and then we should also put our heart into it. Like once when I was young, maybe 15, 16, I was at the temple and I was going to 7 o'clock Aarti, and as I was going to Aarti, one devotee stopped and he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Aarti." He said, "Do you know what Aarti means?" I said, yeah, that's the ceremony we do every day. He said, yeah, I know that's the ceremony. Do you know what the word means? I said, no. So he said, Raat means the night. Arati means before the darkness comes about. So the word Arati means that we're doing this spiritual ceremony so that it illumines our consciousness before the darkness of ignorance takes over. So this is the ceremony of illumination. I said, wow, thanks. Then I started walking. He said, hey, hang on 1 second. Do you know what happens in Aarti? I said, yeah, that's when they wave all of the things and all of that. He said, yeah, I know. Why are they offering those items? What does it all mean? Do you know? It's like, no. I guess you're going to tell me. Yes. Then he explained, Bhumirapo nalo vayu kamano budrevacha hankara iti amme bhinna prakriti rashtada. There are 8 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego. So he said, when we're offering the arti, then what we're doing is we're taking the 8 elements that Krishna uses to create this universe, and we're offering those 8 elements back. That's why you offer a flame. That's why you offer water. That's why you offer a flower, represents earth. That's why you blow the conch shell, because it represents ether. That's why you bow down, because it represents ego. Every element represents, and we're offering it back to Krishna. So now you know what we're doing. I said, thanks. So then I started walking off. He goes, hey, hang on 1 second. And I said, oh God, this guy's really... He said, do you know why we do it in a circle? I said, yeah, we do it in a circle. We do it in a circle. Yeah, I know we do it in a circle. Do you know why we do it in a circle? I said, yeah, we've been doing it like that for years. Yes. Why? I said, no, I don't know. He said, the reason that we do it in a circle is because whenever you're on a circle, no matter where you are on the circle, you're never further from the center, isn't it? Therefore, when we offer these items and we circle it around Krishna, what we're telling Krishna and what we're meditating on is that whatever I may do in my life, wherever I may go, whatever may happen, let me never be further away from you. Let me always keep you in the center. I said, wow, great. Then I started walking off. He said, hey, hang on. He said, do you know why Aarti is at 7 o'clock? I said, yeah, it's always at 7 o'clock. I always come every Sunday, I know. They don't know why. Do you know why Aarti is at 7 o'clock? I said, no. He said, now let me tell you, there are 6 Aartis in the day. And they are at this time because at this time very specific things are happening in the spiritual world. I said, oh wow. He said the first Aarti of the day is at 4:30. Why? Because in the spiritual world, Krishna wakes up at 4:30. And then the next Aarti of the day is at 7. Why? Because in the spiritual world at 7 a.m. Krishna is having his breakfast. The next Aarti of the day is at 12:30 because that's a major event in the spiritual world, because at 12:30 Krishna has gone out with the cowherd boys, and then at 12:30 they sit in the forest, they sit in a circle and they start having lunch together. Then after they have lunch, then Krishna goes to sleep. That's why in our temples after the 12:30 Aarti, then the curtains close. And then Krishna gets up at 4:30 with the cowherd boys. And that's why we have another Aarti at 4:30, because that's when Krishna has woken up from his afternoon nap. And then we have an Aarti at 7 o'clock. Because at 7 o'clock, that's the time when Krishna and now all the cowherd boys are coming back from the forest, and Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda are waiting to welcome them home. Yes, Krishna has come back. And then we have an Aarti at 9 o'clock, because that's the time when Krishna puts on his night dress and Mother Yashoda puts him to sleep. And then Krishna goes to sleep. Right?
Yes.
Right? 9 o'clock, right? Krishna goes to sleep. That's what his parents think. Then the night, Krishna goes to the forest. So this devotee goes, now do you understand why we have Aartis at this time? Because something's happening in the spiritual world. Go, wow. I started walking off. He said, hey, hang on. I was like, oh no, don't go. He said, don't worry, take some prasad, go. And in that one conversation, I understood. Every day every week I was coming to the Aarti, and I had no idea. Still it's nice to come Aarti, even if you have no idea. But can you imagine if we understand what is the meaning of Aarti? Why are we doing what we're doing? What's the symbolism of the things? Why at these times? Jai Shri Ki. Then what happens is a ritual becomes spiritual. Because we can put more heart into it. We can put more meditation. So let us not just become ritualistic, isn't it? It's so easy to become ritualistic. Everything has meaning. Everything has depth. So we should try to do that. Shall we open it out to the audience if they want to ask a question? Just some live questions is also nice. Yes. Prabhu looks like a Hollywood actor. Sorry, didn't want to embarrass you then.
On this topic, Maharaj, it could seem that
What, Hollywood?
if we try to understand all rituals, we may become, or I could develop a kind of arrogance that in order for me to do something, I must understand it fully. And this could be a healthy skepticism, but you also mentioned how key humility is, which could be translated as accepting something that you may not be able to understand. So how could you balance a healthy skepticism with humility?
In Krishna consciousness, we're using our intelligence. So therefore, with everything, we should ask questions. Asking questions is a very, very good thing. It's just that in Krishna consciousness, we also understand that our intelligence has its limits. There are certain things that are beyond our current scope of understanding. There are certain things which are beyond our power of reasoning. And so one extreme is to just say intelligence is useless and we just have to worship. And the other extreme is to try to calculate everything according to intelligence. So what we do in Krishna consciousness is we use our brains, we use our intelligence, we ask questions, but then on certain points we will understand that we have limited scope. And therefore on those points we remain humble. For example, if we're trying to understand the creation of the universe, then we can use somewhat of our intelligence, but we have to understand, who am I? I'm trying to understand the creation of the universe. In this universe, there are thousands of planets. Amongst those thousands of planets, hundreds of planets, tens of planets, however you define it, there's one planet called Earth. And on that one planet, there's so many continents. And in those continents, there's so many countries. And amongst all of those countries, there's one country in which there's so many cities. And in that one city, there's so many roads. And on one road, there's so many buildings. And in one building, there's so many rooms. And in all of those rooms, there may be one room in which there's many people. And amongst all of those people, there's one person. And they think they're intelligent enough to understand the creation of the whole universe. So therefore, we use our brains, but then at one point we realize there is limits here. There are things which are beyond my capacity. And therefore, that balance. Does that make sense?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you. Amazing class. On that topic, in relation to the description of Dhrtarastra, when you mentioned about the qualities and how he transformed himself at the end, Maharaj, I wanted to know, like, it's so easy for us to think that other one is the Dhrtarastra and I am the Vidura. It's so easy, and then after that all the equations, all the actions are based on that fact that, okay, he's the Dhrtarastra, I'm going to change him. I'm the Vidura. So how do we accept that, oh, no, maybe I'm the Dhrtarastra?
So how do we figure out the inner Dhrtarastra? It's like that, isn't it? Sometimes we're in a class and a devotee is speaking and we think, this is a brilliant class, that person really should be in this class. That person really needs to hear this class. We think it's full for everyone else. Oh, I knew that person really. If we want to discover the inner Dhrtarastra, then we need to find a Vidura in our life to remind us we are Dhrtarastra. Dhrtarastra also didn't realize he was Dhrtarastra. He was blind. not just physically blind, spiritually blind. But then what happened is, in his life a saintly person came, and that saintly person was able to reveal to him his own weaknesses. Therefore, in our life we need a saintly person. A saintly person who will expose our weaknesses. It's said that a politician has words like butter, but a heart like razor. But a sadhu has words which are like a razor, but their heart is like butter. A saintly person can come into our life. They have a very soft heart, but sometimes they will speak very strongly. And they will make us realize, I'm not who I thought I was. They will humble us. One time Srila Prabhupada was in Mumbai, and he was on a morning walk. So the devotees brought one rich industrialist who was donating to the temple, and they wanted him to get Swamiji's blessings. So they pushed him forward, and then on the morning walk, Prabhupada was walking. Prabhupada said, what's your business? He said, I'm an industrialist. Prabhupada said, what do you do? He said, I manufacture glass. So Prabhupada said, where does glass come from? The glass comes from sand. And where does the sand come from? Prabhupada said. He said, the sand comes from earth. Prabhupada looked at him and said, so basically you're a thief. So the devotees were thinking, no, he's a nice one, nice man. He's giving so many donations. So then one devotee came forward. He said, no, Prabhupada, he is giving, he is donating. So Prabhupada said, oh, he is donating? Then he is a small thief. But still a thief. Still a thief. One time a devotee was driving and he was listening to a Prabhupada lecture. Anyway, he turned the engine off without turning the radio off. So you know what happens when you turn the engine on, the lecture comes on again. So he turned the engine off anyway. Someone broke into the car. So this person, this thief, broke into a car, and then he was trying to hotwire the car, and then boom, engines fired. And as soon as the engine fired, the audio system went on. So Prabhupada was lecturing, the audio system went on, and Prabhupada said, everyone in the material world is a thief. My God. Bhoktaram yagya tapasham sarvaloka maheshwaram. Krishna is in charge of everything. Anyway, he became a devotee. So, who is telling us in our life, you're a thief? You took from Krishna. When there's someone in our life who can humble us, who has some love for us, a heart like butter, but words like razor, then we will realize, I'm not as saintly as I think I am. I need to improve. So yes, try to find the Vidura.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. I had a question that's kind of unrelated to the class. It was about japa. So I've heard in many other classes that different things, like some people say that you should chant loudly so everyone can hear and everyone gets purified. But in other classes, I've heard you chant quietly so you can just hear yourself when you do your japa, so you don't disturb the other devotees. And also stuff like when you do your japa, some people say you must only focus on the words or like the name, and other people say that you should try to remember the pastimes of the Lord. So what exactly should we do when we're doing japa?
Thank you. When Srila Prabhupada talked about japa, he said, just try to hear yourself chanting sincerely. Very beautiful, simple. Just try to hear yourself chanting sincerely. So yes, some are louder, some are quieter. There are different modes of japa. different ways in which devotees do japa. So I think there is not a specific, decibel range. Like in the Melbourne temple, they have a decibel counter, isn't it? Like a sound counter. So 100. Anyway, no one pays any attention to it. It's like super loud kirtans. So I don't think there's a specific... Of course, we should be sensitive to other devotees, isn't it? If all the devotees are around us, and it's japa time, we go, Hare Krishna, Krishna. I mean, it's nice that you're enthusiastic, but we should also be like a little sensitive too. So I think just some basic consideration, but ultimately, whatever helps you to feel devotionally connected to Krishna. Some devotees chant very quietly. Some devotees, like when they chant, it's like a kirtan little bit, isn't it? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. So, if you ever heard Bhakti Tirtha Swami chant, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, it's like a gospel singing. It's very sweet, actually. So anyway, everyone has their style. Krishna is a person. He relates to everyone. Main thing is try to hear yourself chanting sincerely. And should you think of Krishna's pastimes, wow, that would be amazing. One devotee said to me, my mind during japa time is like a horror movie. So I think if you're thinking of Krishna's pastimes, that's very beautiful. But the essence is to hear Krishna's names. So if we start artificially thinking of the pastime, and then we're not hearing the name, then it may be not the best. So whatever you're doing, whether you want to think of Krishna's pastimes, or look at a picture of Krishna, or see the Maha Mantra in front of you, anything is fine. The main thing is, though, you have to hear yourself chanting sincerely. That's the main. But the vibration is important. Namachinta mani Krishna's Chaitanya rasa vigraha purna shuddha nitya muktam bhinatvan nama namino. Krishna's name is like a touchstone. And so we want to hear Krishna's names, the two syllables, Krishna. Very nice. Bhinatvan. Krishna is right there. So here, that's the main thing. Is that okay? All right.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for a wonderful class. Just my question is that, Shabad books are the most important books. And we have the previous acharyas in Parampara. And then we have also the contemporary acharyas. And we also understand the books are translated into modes, but they still have different examples and relevant in different books from last 200 years to now. So after Srila Prabhupada books, which books to be prioritized?
So there are books by contemporary devotees, there are books by the acharyas. We know that we give priority to Srila Prabhupada's books, but once we've read Prabhupada's books, what should we read next? Can read Prabhupada's books again. I think you read a book only when you read it for the third time. Have you read Bhagavatam? 3 times? 3 times. Yes. If you read the books more and more, Yatrin Vadam Rasa Jnanam Svadu Svadu Pade Pade. It's like rubbing sandalwood. As you rub it more and more, then the fragrance becomes more and more divine. So the first thing, as I would say, that it's not just a matter of getting through Prabhupada's books. It's a matter of Prabhupada's books getting through to us. And so sometimes we may have to read multiple times, which is very nice. So you don't have to stop at once. Continue reading more and more. But yeah, after that you can also, definitely you can read so many books. And should you read the acharyas, contemporary or the previous acharyas, I would say there are no hard and fast rules. Whatever is inspiring for you, whatever nourishes your Krishna consciousness, whatever helps you to go deeper. Some are of a more analytical, philosophical mind, and therefore they may want to study the scriptures, the commentaries that nourishes them. And others may be more practical. They may want to know people's realizations, contemporary. So then they may read that. So I think there's no hard and fast, as you like. But read. That would be very nice. Yes.
Unrelated topic, regarding the mind. Regarding the mind,
Yes.
regarding the mind. There's many things out there externally that our mind is focused on, like thoughts, distractions, information. So there's many things out there that we don't have control of, things that we think about that as we have no control of, but we're so absorbed in investing time and energy in these things, and we don't focus on the things that we do have control of. So how do we train our mind in a practical perspective to focus on the things that we do have control of?
See, there's the circle of influence and the circle of concern. The circle of concern is everything that affects you in your life but that you don't necessarily have control over. And then inside that circle of concern is the circle of influence, the things that you can actually change. What often happens is we set goals in our life based on things that we're not in control of. The wise people, what they do in their life is they set goals which they can actually, to some extent, control. For example, if you're a student, don't set the goal that my goal in life is to get a first-class degree. Is that what it is here? Like first, 2-1, is that how you, it doesn't work like that here. Distinction, is it like that? GPN. HD. My goal in life is to get a HD. No, that's not a good goal. My goal in life is I'm going to do this amount of revision. I'm going to associate with these people who are going to help me in my educational improvement. I'm going to live this kind of lifestyle and engender these habits while I'm studying. In other words, instead of obsessing about the success, focus on the process. What we often do is we put all the emphasis on the result, but you're not in control of the result. But what you are in control of is your effort and your endeavor. So make goals based on effort and endeavor. And you know what? If you make goals on effort and endeavor, you will get the best result. Because what you get out is proportionate to what you put in. So therefore, in our life, what we often do is we measure our success by things that we're not in control of. Rather, measure your success on what you are in control of. Therefore, Krishna says, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana makarma phalaheturbhur mate sango stvakarmani. Krishna says, just do your duty well. You are not in control of the results, neither you are the enjoyer of the results. So we live in a world where everyone is judging us by results. What is your percentage in the exam? What's your position in the ranking? What's your popularity on social media? What's your power in the hierarchy? We're constantly judged by numbers. But Einstein says, everything that can be counted doesn't necessarily count. And sometimes the things that can't be counted count for more. So therefore, we live in a world where we're just judged on success, external success. But Krishna says that real success is inner success. Success of your character, success of your effort, success of the noble, sincere intention that you have. So let us put the focus there instead of putting the focus on results. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Maharaj. I'll unfortunately have to stop us here. I know we were such in a transcendental mood, but just to keep in time. Thank you so much for your time here in Perth.
Thank you so much.
And for enlightening us with so much wisdom. I'd like to invite Krishna Bihari Prabhu just to give us a word of thanks.
Thank you, Maharaj. My words won't be enough justice for my service, but I'll try my best. So, on behalf of ISKCON Perth, we would like to send a heartfelt, thankful heart to His Holiness Svayam Bhagavan Keshava Maharaja for taking out his valuable time to be with us. So, Maharaj, with your profound wisdom, you have taught so many values in this short period of time. So, thank you very much. Your presentations was dynamic and then very engaging as well. The teachings that you shared with us have not been just enlightening but transformative, so we really felt that blissful association. So thank you, Maharaj, for that. Your powerful words have triggered us to go deep inside our hearts and think deeply to think about the purposeful life, a meaningful life. Thank you, Maharaj, for that. And it has been an amazing experience from your blissful association. And thank you for your books. We have had an overwhelming response for your books. So those who have not had a copy yet, please grab a copy from outside. Do we have enough books? It's such a large book. We almost have 300 books sold in this from yesterday. So if you have not had, we probably will have very few copies there. So what you saw in this 1.5 days, just a trailer. If you want to see the whole picture, you can get the books from outside. So thank you, Maharaj. Thank you once again.
Thank you so
we are
much.
deeply grateful for your association. You kept time aside for Perth, which, as we may discuss, it's all neglected sometimes. But thank you for coming. We hope to spend more time with you next time. So, and thank you, Maharaj. We also wanted to extend our thanks to the team who has helped for making this festival happen, all the volunteers, the cooks, and all the devotees. Without your support, it won't happen, so thank you very much. And we wanted to thank all the donors who supported for this festival, so thank you very much. So thank you, Maharaj. We pray you to please give your blessings so that we can continue our path of bhakti.
Thank you.
With all the enthusiasm. And we wish you all the best, Maharaj, for all your preaching endeavors. Thank you
so much.
So that concludes our program for the evening. If you want to get any more information about the events that happen in ISKCON Perth, please do contact the devotees at the table. And yeah, have a nice week and happy Monday for tomorrow. Very well. Hare Krishna.
I don't want to go, Maharaj.
I think everyone is standing up.
Haribol, everyone! Something
something, message for everyone. So everyone can take home message.
Okay, so I'm supposed to say last few words. Thank you so much for inviting me, for your warm welcome, for your spiritual enthusiasm. Srila Prabhupada built a house in which the whole world can live. And so, even in the most isolated city in the world, we also have a home. So I'm really happy to be here. Perth was just a name on the map that I never thought I'd ever come to. But being here has been amazing. All of you are such wonderful devotees. You're such a wonderful, warm community. And sometimes we're in a place like this. It's a small room relatively, and there's just some of us in here compared to thousands of people out there. But each one of you are very, very special, because each one of you are being touched by Krishna, being touched by Srila Prabhupada. And because you're being touched by this beautiful spiritual energy, you have the ability in your life to go out and touch many people's hearts and really make the world a beautiful place. So my deep gratitude to all of you for practicing Krishna consciousness, for being such sincere souls walking this path. You are one in a million. Out of the thousands of people, Krishna says, only a few really take it seriously. So you are very, very rare souls, and please keep coming more and more, and please share all the love and the wisdom and the spirituality which you develop here, and in that way we can all try and make the world a better place. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you so much.